Hello everyone, this is Brian Robinson, and what I want to talk about today is Ben Hogan's hip action. And I know a lot has been talked about how Hogan utilizes hips, probably one of the greatest hip action the game has ever seen. My opinion about when pursuing Hogan's method or trying to discover his quote-unquote secret, I think if you're going to go on that venture, you should utilize his hip action as the core of his swing. So whether you're trying to understand how he cupped and he bowed his wrist, or any other of these things that come out that people believe were his secrets or part of a group of secrets that he had, if we're not utilizing our hips right, then how can that action be in its purest form? So maybe something doesn't work if I'm swinging back and my hips are coming forward on the downswing, called early extension. How can my bowed wrist work as effectively as it did for Hogan if my hips are not working like him? So I think that should be the acid test for everything you experiment with. It should be your barometer, is taking his hip action and melding it with what other actions that you're trying to incorporate. Now, one thing that I developed to help me with that is this training aid. So this is a PVC pipe that I slid through my bag. This is where you would put the strap to hold the golf bag onto the golf cart so it doesn't fall off. Right here is a close-up of it, so you get an idea of how to make it yourself. It's real simple. You can see I put a piece of duct tape here to kind of elevate it a little bit, so that way it's more on my hip level. So a very simple device that anybody could make. Now what I do with this is when I set up to it with about an inch away from the PVC pipe. My backside's about an inch away. And the reason why I do that is I want to press back into the shaft, back into the PVC pipe, so that way I'm reaching deep into the tush line like Hogan did. And then on the downswing, same thing, so I'm going to go push into it, push back into the tush line on the downswing. I think that's a really critical thing to understand. And as you can see here, this is a picture of Hogan at setup, and this is back when he said he was hitting the ball better than he ever did in his life. So this is pre-accident and obviously post quote-unquote secret. What you can see here, the next picture, is Hogan now at the top of his backswing. See how deep the tush is now worked into the tush line? So we see an address, and now we see top of swing, we can see a dramatic amount of that hip working back into the tush line, and then you can also see his head is lowered. So there is a correlation between the pressing back into that tush line and then a lowering of the head. So he's kind of sitting into those muscles, those leg muscles. Then on the next one we can see him at impact. And here the left hip is worked very deeply into the tush line at impact. Also, another critical place that we should be working on in our golf swing. So if you're going to pursue the Hogan swing, I believe this should be your core, and it's where you should experiment around. But always the most important focus should be making sure your hips work like Hogan did. And you can also see with the impact position, he even lowered more. So those red lines up there kind of show you the top of the where he was at address. We can see he lowered when he went to the top of the swing, and we can see he lowered at impact. A lot has been talked about and written about this lowering aspect of Hogan's swing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a rear view now of me hitting balls and how I utilize this PVC pipe to kind of be my gauge on figuring out how Hogan uses hips and what he felt, because the most important thing is we take what Hogan did and we incorporate it so that we can feel it. Just thinking about it has failed me 1,000 times. I've tried to think about doing something Hogan did, and I had no feel for it, I had no barometer. So let's start with this as our core and this as our barometer. So next we're going to do the behind from down the line. Okay, so here is the down the line view. Here is my PVC pipe, which represents the tush line. Now remember, you can also use a chair, a camping chair works great too. But anything you can put behind you is really important to start giving you that feel of where your hips are in the golf swing and how are they working. Two important things to remember is I always recommend make sure this is parallel to your target line. Golf is a game of geometry. The other thing is, if you're a beginner, I'd recommend starting off with your backside right on it. And as you get more and more comfortable and you begin to really get a feel for where your hips are and how they're working in the tush line, then you can kind of move away from it about an inch and really feel yourself sitting back into the shot like Hogan did. And then you'll notice that you'll even get that little bit of lowering that he has on that backswing, and then that increased lowering on the downswing. Those are two important things. Now also remember, if you're going to go on the endeavor of trying to find Hogan's secret or trying to develop a swing like him, you know, there's so much written about that, and there's so many things to explore, or maybe things that you've seen in Hogan video, him hitting balls that you kind of said, boy, that's something interesting I want to try out. But if your hips are not working even remotely efficient, or you know, if they're not staying out of the way, so for example, if you're trying to work on that cupped to bowed wrist that Hogan had, but you got early extension, you're getting away from this on the backswing, you're getting away from this on the downswing, you're just wasting your effort, because this action either is going to negate that move or greatly diminish its efficiency. So that's why I said this is your core. If you can master this hip action, then everything else will fall into place. So that's why I really recommend having something behind you. And I never hit balls in the driving range or in my modified driving range here at home without something behind me. I'm going to hit a ball now. I can't do a full swing. Unfortunately, on the follow through I would hit my ceiling. But you know, I can work on a lot of the core moves of the hips with my driving range right here. So what I'm going to do is I'll set up. I like to feel where the PVC pipe is first. Kind of gives my mind a feel and an image of where it is. And then I'll move away from it about an inch. Now I'm going to swing back, and then I'm going to swing through. And I'm going to try to keep a great connection to this tush line. So I like to finish and feel my hip still on it after impact. So I follow through. You can come away from it, especially those with bad backs. You might want to, after impact, kind of release that tension a bit. But I felt there I came. I was here and back. I dug into it. Then on the downswing, I felt like I really pressed into it on that follow through and that impact. So this is a great drill to use. I will be making more drills about how I use this, how I practice with my feet, knees, and hips when using this, so I get a kind of a better feel on how some of them feet actions and knee actions and hip actions actually work when in relationship to how Hogan used the tush line. And also I'll have some more videos coming out. You'll see I like creating my own training aids. I'll have a whole video on this little training aid here too. So please like, subscribe, share, and I look forward to producing some more videos for you guys in my pursuit of Hogan's swing, and hopefully I help you guys in your journey. Thank you.